Nostalgia. Our connection to the past is our memory. There are items in our lives that spark memory, evoke emotion, and carry full-blown narratives. A lever action is one such item, powerful enough to fill our heads with all of that. While the Model 94 was not a high-use lever action in media, television series, movies, songs, comic books, and novels have spread the love of the lever action used in many makes and models. IMFDB is loaded with lever action uses in media. As a kid, watching the heroes and villains duke it out with six-shooters and lever actions forever locked the lever gun in my head. Now, there are gun tubers LARPing with modernized or tactical lever actions. I don't really get it, but hopefully this recent gun tuber activity will interest some. In the lever action, not so much the LARPing. The Winchester 92, being more used in media than the 94, had higher capacity but lower power than the 94. The 30 WCF, or 3030, was designed from the start to use smokeless gunpowder and marketed for the 94. My first lever action was the Marlin 1894C in 357 Magnum. I love it. I still have it. I've taken lots of wild hogs with it. It made me get the Marlin 1895 guide gun in 4570. Both are thin and easy to carry. No other style of firearm feels the same. The 4570 with Garrett ammunition is an absolute brute. In the back of my head, there was always a voice that told me to go get a 3030. This rifle here came along with some interesting political baggage, and I set my head and wallet on a path to acquire it. There are a lot of great historical videos and websites covering the Winchester 94. I'm not going to attempt to repeat them. I'm going to limit my erudition to this particular rifle, a politician's rifle, and I'll tell that tale after covering the elevation adjustment of the rear sight. The rifle is chambered in 30-30. The barrel is 20 inches with a twist rate of 1 in 12. This version has a rear sight with 4 notches for elevation adjustment. Here, I've shot Winchester PowerPoint 150 grain 30-30 using each notch at 50 yards. And what does that give me? Notch 1 is 0 at 50 yards. Notch 2 is 2 inches higher, or about 0 at 100 yards. Notch 3 is 5 inches higher, or about 0 at 160 yards. Notch 4 is 10 inches higher, or 0 at about 200 yards. This particular lever action has stories to tell from its design, build, and previous ownership. It has stories all around its existence of brilliance, undefeatable spirit, and a political one that might resonate with people for different reasons. It was designed by a genius, built during wartime, and just before the boldest government attack led on our nation. Owned by a Texas politician that struggled with favor and fell from riches more than once. This rifle was designed by John Moses Browning. It was built in the fall of 1941, just a few months before the attack on Pearl Harbor. Owned by Texas Lieutenant Governor David Dewhurst, and then purchased by me from one of his bankruptcy auctions. In 1941, Winchester was manufacturing one version of the 94, and only in 3 calibers. 53,738 Model 94s were produced that year. Go visit the Winchester Collectors Association for a wealth of knowledge. This rifle was owned by David Dewhurst, former Lieutenant Governor of Texas. Dewhurst is an interesting cat. Born in Houston in 1945, about 4 years after this rifle was made. His father was a bomber pilot that was killed by a drunk driver when David was 3. His mother was a secretary. He wasn't a silver spoon baby. He played basketball at the University of Arizona as a walk-on. He worked his way through college waiting tables, doing physical labor and office jobs. He joined the Air Force, went on to work for the CIA in Bolivia. He returned to Texas and got into the oil business. Millionaire and then bankruptcy. Energy business was next. Cogeneration and over $200 million in self-worth. Self-made wealth, a rancher with patriotism and party loyalty out the wazoo. He was a tall, handsome, polished suit that could sit atop a horse and really use a rope. David Dewhurst should have been on top of Texas politics longer, but he was always a bit off, referred to as plastic, a strange duck, and other unflattering terms. He used his wealth to buy into Texas politics. He was land commissioner before lieutenant governor, 1999 to 2003, and then lieutenant governor from 2003 to 2015. Names that are still in play in Texas politics helped usher Dewhurst out the door. Supreme Court Justice Greg Abbott started to run against him for lieutenant governor and then switched to running to AG. GOP insiders persuaded him not to run for Phil Graham's U.S. Senate seat, instead handing it to John Cornyn. Dewhurst ultimately ran for U.S. Senate against Ted Cruz and lost. His campaign was financed by his soon-to-be second ex-wife. With his fortune gone, Texas politicians dropped this strange outsider. His name and video appeared on the news a few years back for domestic violence incidences with his 34-year younger girlfriend. Wikipedia covers the charges against him, while a year earlier she was arrested twice for kicking him and fracturing his ribs. Crazy stuff. When bankruptcy came, personal auctions followed. This rifle came up in the second bankruptcy auction, at least the second that I could find. I decided I was going to get it. Does this story resonate with you because a politician fell? Or that a man who came from modest means rose to wealth and power? Or the understanding that power is transitory? Or how about our possessions are just things to be sold off or discarded? What about the rifle itself? Born in wartime, but a symbol of an earlier time. Popularity and desirability rising and falling. Availability decreasing. Anyway, I have this neat old 94 and 30-30 in my collection with an interesting history. Someday, the wife or the boys will decide what to do with it, and hopefully the story won't get lost.